I'm going to explain you what is that I'm going to do with files, right? Handling files properly in C++. Good. So there is a normal program here. What I have is a normal .h file where I have a class employee. In that I'm getting an ID, and I'm going to get name and salary. And you can see that all are private, and make sure that I'm again and again saying you need to be very careful that you may need to do everything inside the private section. All the variables must be in the private part. Make sure that you're not giving the variables in the public section, right? So that will create a lot of problem for you, because there will be security issues. So make sure that you're always declaring all your variables in the private section of the class. Okay, I have some three variables here. Let us see those. Sorry, three variables and four methods here. That is set employee, get employee, get ID, and hike salary, right? So what is that I'm going to do here in this program is in the set employee function or the set employee method, I'm going to get some input for ID, name, and salary, and get employee is going to wherever you use get employee, you will be displaying the details there. And then get ID, I'll tell you why I've used this method in the later part. And then now I have a method called as hike salary, wherein I'm going to get some information about the employee and then hike the salary for him, right? So for which employee, for example, employee number 1, the salary need to be hiked by 10%. Yes, I can do that. Okay, now here in my .cpp file, I have some method that is set employee, wherein I'm going to get input for my name, ID, and salary. And get ID is the method which is going to return ID. And get emp, which is going to display the ID, name, and salary. And here hike salary is the method which is going to get some information here, that is like how many percentage that I want to increase the salary, right? So that salary will be increased as per this percentage. So far so good. Any doubts here as of now? Please let me know. If there is no doubt, please just chat no, so that I can proceed further. Any doubts, guys? Okay, I believe there is no doubt for you, anyone. No doubt. Okay, good. Now let me write the main program for you. Let me include my emp.h file here, and then say main. Let me say employee. Let me create an array, or if you want, you can create a pointer as well. Let me say emp, whichever you're comfortable with. You can do that, and I can say new employee of n. So that gives the number of employees for me. Let me say int n, and then say sin n. I'm going to get the number of employees information, right? How many employees are going to be there in my company, right? So you can say enter the number of employees. Good. So based on the n that I'm getting, so that many number of objects will be created here, an employee of n. So n number of employees will be created, and the address of that will be stored in the pointer emp. Okay, now let me try to get input. I'll say int I assign 0, and then say let me use a loop to get input, because if it is more than 1, we always use loop. I less than n, and here I say emp of I dot which function I need to use, set emp, right? I need to call the method set emp, so that I'll be getting input for my employee with the help of set emp method. It's here, set emp, it's here. Yeah, I'm getting 3 inputs. Excuse me. That is name, ID, and salary. Got it? Okay. So after getting input, I feel that I want my data to be stored safe somewhere. If I want to store my data somewhere to be in the safe place, right, I may either use a database or a traditional method of using file. So when I say I want to use file, I let me create some file with the help of fstream, that is fstream. Let me say OFS, and let me create a file called as employee.txt, comma iOS out, because if I want to create a new file, I'll be using iOS out, right? And I'm going to store the block of data, not one single data. If it's a single data or a single one information, if it is a character data, then I can use a normal iOS out and then leave it, right? But if at all I want to store the block of data, that is not one information, that's more than one information, a block of data information need to be stored, I may need to use iOS binary, right? So I'm creating a new file with the help of iOS out, that creates a new file, and then iOS binary, that file will be in the binary mode. Now let me say, to store this data, I'll say OFS dot write method. So the write method takes two arguments. One is the address, that is emp, stores the address of my object, right? So emp, since it is a pointer, it's storing the address of object. Even if it is an array also, I'll just give emp only, right? So if it is a single variable or if it's a single object, then I need to give ampersand emp. Since it is a pointer, or if I'm going to use an array, by default the array name or the pointer is going to store the address of it, so it is just enough to give emp there. Okay, so let me say how much data that I'm going to store. Size of employee. Now size of employee, when I say size of employee, it mentions the size of my class. So one object, if I'm going to store only one object data, then I say size of employee. When I say size of employee, what is the size of that class name? That will be taken as a size. But I'm not going to store only one employee details. Bug has asked a question. If we previously know the value of n, can we simply write employee en? Yes, Bug, we can do that. Yes, we can do that. It's possible. Now, when I say size of employee, and then I'll say I'm not going to store only one employee information detail, I may need to store n number of employee information detail. So size, it is not size of one, it is size of one class into n times. So that many n times of space I need to allocate, and then store all the informations here. So when I say emp and then this into n, that much block of memory will be allocated in the file, and every information whatever I'm getting will be stored in the file now, right? So once it is over, don't forget to close it. The very important thing in file is that once we open the file, we may need to close it, or else my program will throw error, or it'll malfunction, it'll not give me the right information. Got it? Okay. Now, so far so good. There is no problem. A file will be created. Inside the file, the data will be stored, right? So employee.txt, in employee.txt, all the information, whatever I got here, right, that's going to get stored inside my file. Okay. Now let me create one more thing, that is fstream. Let me try to read my information, read all the information from my employee.txt and try to print it. Try to store it in a new object and then print it again, right? So for to opening the file in read mode, I'll say iOS in. That's practice that we use, right? If it is iOS out, that is write mode, iOS in for read mode, right? So let me say ifs dot read, and I'm going to read. Let me create an object first for that, right? So let me say here, I'll say employee, create a new object so that we'll get the difference, right? So let me say employee e of n. This is enough, right? I'm getting n number of objects, so employee E of n. So this thing like will not work in some compilers, so don't worry about it. You can just give 10 there, no problem, right? So let me say the same syntax for reading and writing. There is no difference. You have same syntax. You can use the same syntax. So this will read everything and put it inside a new object called as E. First, we have created an object called as EMP, and then we have got some input, and after getting the input, the entire data, the entire object is getting stored inside the file, right? And then I'm closing the file, and after that I'm creating a new object, opening the already existing file in read mode, and then I'm reading all the contents from the file, right? I'm reading all the contents from the file. So once I read all the contents from the file, that will be stored inside the object E, right? Now here I say I assign 0, and then I'll say while. Let me try to read all the data, which is, I'll say while I less than n, and then say E dot get underscore emp, sorry, E of I, emp, and then I plus plus. Right, so after this I say ifs dot close, and then let me say return 0. Now what's happening here, let me give a summary of it. As so far what we have done, we have created a object of size n, and we got some input for n information or n employees, and then after that we are writing those information whatever is there in the array of object to my file, and then closing the file. And then I'm creating a new object of size n, reading all the opening the already existing file in read mode, and then trying to read all the information from the file, and then storing it in the object E, right? So I'm reading all the information from the file and storing it inside the new object called as E, and then I'm trying to print everything. Let me run this code for you. Let me check the, okay, we are on the current path, I believe. Let me say G++, one is emp.cpp, and then my emp.cpp. I forgot to save this. Let me save this file and this file as well. I've run this code. Okay, let me execute this code. I'll say number of employees, let me say 2, and then let me give the name as Samuel, and then let me say 123 is my ID, and then salary is 10,000, and let me say Edison, and then 124, and then salary is 20,000. So you can see whatever I've inserted, and I'm storing it inside the file, and then reading it and printing it as it is, right? So whatever is there inside the file, now it got read in this line. So what's happening here is I'm reading it and storing it inside a new object. I'm not using the same object to print it, right? I'm using a new object, storing it and printing it, right? If at all in between, I hope you understood so far, right? If you have any doubts, please text. If you have any doubts, please type it. Let me clear it and go further, right? Because next time I'm going to tell you like how to edit the contents inside the file. If you have any doubts or queries, please type in there. If you have any doubt, you don't have any doubts, please say no so that I can proceed further. Okay, no doubts. Good. So let me proceed further. Now, in between, if I want to change the contents from the file, right? I want to update someone's salary, right? We have a method to. Uh, so some examples show that they wrote fstream. Is it the correct way to open the file? Fstream file object. That's correct. Bag, if I want to do something specifically, right? If I say like I want to do only write operation, I can just say OF stream and the file object followed by the file name. That's enough. For example, if I'm going to only write something to the file, I'm going to create a new file. If I'm going to create a new file, I'll just say OF stream file object and followed by the file name. I don't have to give iOS out or in like that. It's simple. I can do that. Yes. And if I'm going to do only read operation, IFS and IFS. That's only for read operation, nothing else. But when I say fstream, I can do both read and write operation together. That's the difference I've given here. Okay. Hope you understood. Okay. Now let me proceed further and let you know how to read the content from the file, update the data, and put it back to the file. Bag has asked a question. While reading data, they used extraction operator. Yes, Bag, you can use extraction operator if it is a character, if it is a text file. If it is a number or a text, yes, you can do that. But if at all, I can just say that file object extraction operator, and then you can do that. Yes, it is possible. But what we are doing here is not one single variable or one single value. It is a block of data, that is an object. So that is not possible here. So for writing or reading a block of data or an object, you may need to use only read method or the write method. You cannot use extraction or insertion operator. Anyone have any other doubts? Okay, fine. Now let me complete this. If at all we have any other doubts, small doubts, we'll have it after this session. Okay. Now let me try to read the content from the file and then update it and then do it back to my file, right? So let me create one more object. Let me say em, and then I'll say int id. I'll tell you why I've do this, and let me try to open the file again. So now this time I'm going to open the file in read mode. So I'll say iOS in, and then I'm going to do write operation as well. So when I want to do both read and write operation, in the sense, if I want to open an already existing file and then if I want to do some modification or write something to it, I'll be using iOS in pipe symbol iOS out. So it means that it opens an already existing file in read mode and then also allows you to do write operation. Okay, fine. So let me try to read the content from the file. I'll say let me say IOFS. Since I'm doing both read and write operation, I'm giving the name. It's just a naming convention, guys, that IOS or OFS, this OFS, IFS, it all like it's just naming convention. You can give any name, right? Just for naming convention, I've given that. Okay, don't think that I have to use only that. It's not so. Now what I've done here is I've opened an already existing file and then read the contents from the file. It means that reading all the contents from the file, storing it in a new object, and after that I'm going to get some information. Let me say cout, enter the emp id of the person to hike salary. Let me say cin id, right? So here I'm getting an input of id which is there present inside my what employee object, and I'm going to check whether that id present, and if that id is present, then I'm going to change or I'm going to update the information about only that particular id, only for that particular id, not for everyone. So let me try to go and search for all the employees present inside my, let me pull this out here from here. I'm going to search for all the employees, right? And then if I find that matching id, right, here I'm going to give some id. If I'm going to find the matching id, then I'm going to update the information about only about that person. So let me say while, and I say if, here I say em of I dot get id. Now this get id is a method which returns my id information about the employee, right? So let me go here back to this file. So here whenever this method is called, it returns the id of the current calling object. So whichever object, whichever part of the object is getting called, for that particular object, what is the id, that id will be returned back here. It will be returned back here to this position, and check whether that id is matching with the id which I am giving. If it is matching, then I am going to say em of I dot hike salary. How many percentage you want to hike? If I say I want to hike 10% of salary, yes, I have hiked 10% of salary for that particular person. Now I need to I've just updating is only inside the object but not inside the file. Now what I'm doing, I'm reading the content from the file, storing it inside the object em, and I'm updating the information only for that particular object. But now if I want to update the information inside the file, then I need to go to that particular person information and then update it. How to go to that particular information? When I normally say read, it will go to the starting. So from there I start reading, I come till the end. That's all. But how will I go to a particular block of information? To go to a particular block of information, I'll be using a method called as seek. So I can either use seekp or seekg, depends on what I'm doing. If I'm going to write some content to the file, I may need to use seekp. If it is iOS out, I'll be using seekp. If it is iOS in, I'll be using seekg. Now let me use seekp because I'm going to write some content to the file. Now the seekp method will move the cursor to a particular position, right? If I want to move the cursor to the particular position, I'll be using a method called as seekp. Now seekp has two parameters. One is offset and the second parameter is whence. Now offset, I'll tell you what is that. Before to that, I'll tell you what is whence. When I say whence means from where. From where. It means that from which position I am going to start, right? So here I have three types of things. One is iOS BEG, another one is iOS CUR, another one is iOS END. So when I say iOS BEG, it will put my cursor to the starting position. When I say iOS CUR, it will leave my cursor wherever it is. When I say iOS END, it will put the cursor or move the cursor to the end of the file. So seekp can do all these stuffs by moving the cursor to a particular position. So when I say iOS BEG, it means that my cursor position will go to the starting position. When I say iOS CUR, my cursor position will go to the end. When I say iOS CUR, I'm sorry, iOS BEG means to the beginning of the, that is the starting of the file. When I say iOS end, it will go to the end of the file. When I say iOS CUR, the cursor position will be at the same position wherever it is. So when I say here iOS BEG, so when I say iOS BEG, and I may need to give an offset before it, to which location I want to move. From the beginning, how many steps I want to move. If it is a normal text file, I can say 1, 2, 3. So it will move 3 characters, it will move 4 characters. If I say 4, iOS BEG, it will move to the, from the first position, it will move 4 characters. If I say 6, iOS BEG, it will move 6 characters from the beginning. And when I say iOS end, make sure that your offset value can only be negative. For iOS end, I repeat, your offset value can only be negative, because when I put the cursor at the end of the file, I cannot move forward, but I have to move backward. So when I say iOS END, I have to give a negative offset value so that it comes backward. And when I say iOS BEG, I can give only positive, because I cannot go backward, because that is the starting position. And when I say iOS CUR, it depends on where your cursor is. If your cursor is in between, I can either go backward or forward. Got it? Fine. Let us start now. Now I know at the ith location, my ID is found at the ith location of the object, right? So if it is 0, 1 or 1th position or 2nd position, like that, right? So the ith position of the value I found. Now how will I move inside the file? That is the ith block, right? For example, first object, second object, third object, like that. That is how it is getting stored inside my file. First object will be stored, and then second object will be stored, and the third object will be stored. Now it's an array of objects, so 0th, 1, 2. So 0th position is the first object, 1 position is the second object, and 2 is the third object, like that. Now if I want to go and change only the particular value, I'll say where I have to move. I'll say size of employee will move that many block, right? First block. When I say size of employee, one block of data is the size of employee. Now from here, how many steps I need to move? I'll say into I, because I found my ID which is matching at the ith location, right? Matching at the ith location. When my ID is matching at the ith location, then I may need to give size of employee into I. So that particular block, second block or first block or 10th block, wherever it is, it will go to that block, and there alone I am going to rewrite it. So rewrite what? I'll say IOFS dot, I don't have to write the entire object, it is not required, because that takes too much of time consuming and memory wastage. So I'll say char star, and which location I found? I found at the location em of I. So here I'll say address of em of I, because it is a particular object, one object, so I need to go for the address. If I say the array name, then address is not required, because array name already stores the address. So here I say size of employee, and then close it. Now here I am finding the ID for that ith location value, go and change the value in the object. After changing the value in the object, moving my cursor position to the particular ith object or nth object, and then writing the content of that particular object inside my file, right? After finding this, let me say break, and then I have to say I plus plus, and then close it. So after this, one important thing, I may need to close the file so that you data is not getting lost, right? So let me run this code for you. It's taking a little bit of time. Okay, let me add the enter of number of employees. Let me say 123. Sorry, let me run this code again. number of employees 2, name is Samuel, ID 123, salary 10,000, and then say Edison 124, let the salary be 20,000. So I'm just asking enter the employee ID of the person to hike salary. So now here the 124 is 20,000. Let me try to change the salary for that person. It has been changed from 20,000 to 22,000 because I've hiked the value to 10 percentage. Now this information is read from the file, not directly here. It has been read from the file. After reading from the file, I'm printing it. Right? So hope you understood how I'm changing the content going inside the file. This is the place where it moves to the particular location, overwrites on that particular location. I go to that particular location and I'm then overwriting it. After completing it, I'm breaking and coming out. That's it, guys. If you have any doubts, please let me know. I'll try to clarify those things. Good. Let me wait for a few seconds. If you have any doubts, just type in. I think everyone is clear. Good to see, guys. That hope everyone understood. Hope you understood, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you very much for listening to me so much of time, right? Thank you, guys. Yeah, definitely, Arvind. I'll put the code in the GitHub and I'll share the link with you. Don't worry. I'll just give the GitHub link in the description section so that you can get the data from there. Definitely, I'll do that. Don't worry. Anything else, guys? Thank you. You're welcome, guys. You're most welcome. You're most welcome. Fine, guys. I'm signing off. See you later. Bye.